Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Welcome to Drugstore Week, Part 2. We're talking about cheeks today. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today's video is going to be number 2 of my drugstore week here on the channel. I thought it could be fun to come on here and to give you a lot of my more affordable recommendations and just talk about those. So I have 4 different categories. I already did a video about base products, and today we're talking about all things cheeks, so bronzer, blush, and highlight. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool neutral undertone, and this greatly influences my makeup preferences. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade, love eyeshadow palettes, as I Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in, then I definitely hope you'd like to consider subscribing. So yes, installment number 2 of Drugstore Week is going to be all things cheek, and I also wanted to make sure that I tell you a little bit about how this series works. I'm not going to be inserting any swatches here. I know everybody always wants to see swatches, but with a lot of makeup, you really need to see how it sits on the skin in order to be able to judge whether it might be right for you, which is why I'm going to be leaving a lot of links in the description box down below to let you know where you can find the full review, where I not only have a swatch, but I also show you how it sits on my skin and what it looks like if you see it in a full finished makeup look. So that's all waiting for you in the description box down below. So let me just get to these products. And here I also wanted to say that I have a bit of an honorable mention because I didn't want to include too many products that are quite new to me in these top 10 favorites, because I just don't find that very fruitful. However, I tried a product the other day for a full face makeup look, and I fell in love with it instantly. Now, granted, it was just based on a first impression. I wasn't able to wear that makeup look for a full day, so that's why I'm sort of featuring it here as an honorable mention, and then we'll get to the top 10 favorites. And it's the Kiko Sculpting Stick. This is their creamy stick contour in shade 200. And a lot of people who watched that video were saying, oh my, add to cart immediately, it looks stunning. And it is stunning. This looks really warm toned when you swatch it, but when it went onto my face, I thought it looked beautiful. And this, texture wise, it reminds me of my Rare Beauty bronzing stick, which is one of my all-time favorites, and to find it at a drugstore price point I think is really lovely, which is why I had to mention it here straight away. But just know, I didn't review this yet. When I review products, I want to make sure I put them on my face for at least a week, especially with things like bronzers and highlighters and blushes like we're talking about today, because I want to see how things wear throughout the day and whether things disappear, which with cream products, especially if they're cheap, that can sometimes happen. But I think that this is a lovely product. Kiko is really good at doing cheek products. They do some really nice base products as well, but I feel the point where Kiko truly shines is in the cheek department. So I'm not surprised that they're doing such a really good cream bronzer. This was recommended by one of my followers to try. Someone left a comment on one of my videos saying, have you ever tried the Kiko bronzing stick? You might like it. And she was right, because this thing is amazing. And it's actually funny because as I'm sitting down to film this video, I'm realizing some comments that I usually get whenever I do Essence and Catrice reviews, because a lot of these videos are going to have Kiko, Essence, and Catrice, because those are the 3 main drugstore brands where I try quite a lot of products, because Essence and Catrice update their lines twice a year over here where I live. So whenever I know that they have some new products coming, I buy a bunch of things and I do a full face first impression, and then I review all the products, and then once I've reviewed everything, I also do a roundup after a couple of months, letting you know what really worked for me and what I thought wasn't that worth it. And sometimes people leave comments on those videos like, why are you trying it if you know it's not going to work for you? Like, that's not the point of the video. I'm trying to figure out whether this line has anything new to offer that I might like. So yeah, I try a lot, which means that I also dislike quite a lot. However, that's why I wanted to come on here and film this series, to also let you know, like, these are the things. If you're looking into these brands, try this. And of course, I also try other drugstore brands, so I've thrown in some things here and there as well. But I think mainly what I have to share with you today is Essence and Catrice, so bear with me as we're getting into my top 10 favorite cheek products from the drugstore. And we're kicking things off with bronzer. And this is my little bronzing stack. This is 3 bronzers, only I have 1 in 2 shades. I'll leave that towards the end. But I have another cream bronzer to share with you. And it's the Makeup Revolution Ultimate Cream Bronzer. This was in so many people's best of 2022 favorites last year that I wanted to make sure I tried it. And I hadn't tried a full face with Makeup Revolution for a very long time. So I finally got around to it, I think in March. I finally tried a bunch of products, and this is the one thing, like I didn't love a lot of the things that I tried for that video, but this, sometimes you just find the gems, you know? So I have to agree with a lot of people who put this on their end of year favorites list that this is an excellent cream bronzer. I have mine in the shade Light, and this, maybe you can see it a little bit from where I've dabbed my brush into, but I don't like it when these potted cream bronzers or highlighters or whatever it is, and I need to insert a step. So Catrice does a very similar one to this with a very similar texture and a very similar color payoff, their Melting Sun, which is just as lovely, but it's not featured in this video here today because I feel that it requires an extra step, because the Catrice one dries down and the pan seals over after every single use. Which means you need to use your finger to warm up the pan and put it on the back of your hand, and then you can pick it up. But this one, I can just dab my brush into it and apply it to my face, and it's lovely. And it's just as expensive as the Catrice one. So if you had to make me pick between the two, I would pick the Makeup Revolution over the Catrice one for sure. Not because the Catrice one doesn't work or because it isn't nice, but just because it requires that one extra little step. And of course, I've been told that people have actually been buying this product because of my recommendations, which always makes me nervous when people say that they've bought things because of my recommendations. But it also makes me proud a little bit, especially when people then end up loving the product. But I'm always a little bit afraid when people say like, oh, you love this, I'm gonna buy it too. And I'm like, oh, I hope you love it as much as I do. But the Kiko Flawless Fusion Bronzer, I have mine in shade 1. I always forget what the name of the shade is because Kiko doesn't put it on their products, but this is one of the best bronzers for people with fair skin. If you are pale like me, you know the struggle. You know the struggle of finding a good bronzer. Everything looks muddy, everything looks orange, everything is too dark, and it just doesn't quite work because you end up looking like an Oompa Loompa all the time, which you don't want. And this looks natural, it gives me a little bit of glow, and I just really, really enjoy it. So that's why I had to give this a shout out once again, and shade 1 is light enough for my skin tone. However, I do believe this comes in 5 or 6 different shades, so they are pretty shade inclusive as well as far as bronzers go. And I'm sad to say that this is still one of my favorites. It's the Catrice Holiday Skin Bronzer. So I have this in 2 different shades. I have 010, Summer in the City, and 020, Off to the Island. The one you can still buy is the darker one. This one is still for sale. Sadly. This is my summer shade. I bought both shades. I think I bought this one first because I couldn't get the other one. And these do have a very strong scent. The texture very much reminds me of the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, remember that hype? And this also has this like tropical kind of scent, which I have to like. I kind of close my bronzers, like I did my brush in, close the packaging, and then I don't smell it anymore, so it's fine. And I'm bummed because this super light shade, which is like a great winter shade for me as well, has been discontinued because they now do a 2-pan, which is a really good dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. But I didn't like the bronzer shade as much as I do this one, so I ended up decluttering that because I also own the Charlotte Tilbury version, and then I was going to keep the Charlotte Tilbury over the Catrice one there. And I also felt that the shade in that little 2-pan with the bronzer and the highlight isn't exactly this shade. It's a hair darker than this is. It's still pretty, you can still make it work, but if you were looking for this one exactly, know that it's no longer available. And if you want this idea, that you're gonna have to buy the 2-pan, which is a little pellet, which has the same name. It's also called Holiday Skin. But yeah, they discontinued this in favor of that. I think this is still my favorite of the two, but this is because this is just a shade I can get away with 9 months out of the year. The darker shade is more of like my July, August, September shade, and then the rest of the year I need to use this one. So sad they discontinued it, but I do still really love the product. Moving on to highlight, and I have 3 highlighters to share with you. Here we have the Essence Give Me Glow highlighters. This is the Luminous Highlighter in Lovely Rose. This also came in a champagne shade, and this has always been a little strange to me because in the pan it looks quite dark, but you can see where my brush has gone into it as I was testing it out, and you can see it has a much lighter sheen. And this is, again, it's very similar to the Nabla skin glazing highlighters in terms of texture. It's like a gel to powder kind of formula, and that's why I love this. And the shade of this was incredible. This, I mean, the packaging is super cheap, but this feels like a high-end highlighter, and it looks like a high-end highlighter going on, even though it was only 3 or 4 euros at the drugstore. This is really lovely, and I think this came out, I think, in the springtime as well. So quite a new product from Essence, and I love this one. But one of my longest standing favorites in terms of highlighters, the Kiko Milano Glow Fusion in shade 1. Mine has a huge dip, you can see. I bought this years ago. I remember I bought this when I went to Rome, which was 2017, so this is like 6 years old. Not sure I should still be using it, but they still do this. That's the lovely thing about Kiko and this silver packaging. They keep products around for years, so you don't have to be in any rush to buy them, and you know something is a favorite when you've nearly hit pan on it. I've tried to hit pan on this several times, and it hasn't happened. And this is the best sort of subtle, like the Essence one is more of like a kapow glow in your face kind of moment. And this is more of that like softer, more candlelit glow, you could say. And that's just why I love it. This shade is perfect if you have fair skin and you want something that flashes like champagne gold, but without it being overly warm toned. It's got a little bit of white running through it, but it does still have the transparent base. I still love this thing to pieces, and this is just such a long-standing favorite that I couldn't leave it out. And quite a new favorite, and quite an instant favorite as well, because in October I filmed myself doing a full face makeup look with Dutch makeup brands, and I tried a full face of Kruidvat makeup for the very first time. Kruidvat over here is a Dutch drugstore chain. Again, you can find them on every single like corner. Whenever there's like a little blob of shops, there's usually going to be either an Etels or a Kruidvat there. And they do a full makeup line that is name brand, and I had never tried it before. So I was like, what better way to do a full face makeup look with nothing but Kruidvat? And their Lighten Up Diamond Glow highlighter looks like nothing in the pan. And then when you apply it, it comes to life. And I love it when highlighters do it. And this, it's a little bit stronger than the Kiko one. And it's more like a true white gold. It's not that champagne. And I love a white gold highlighter on myself. This is just lovely. The shade name is Champagne Pelican. Not sure where they got that name from, but this is a really lovely highlighter. It was an instant love affair. A lot of the products I still need to try another time. This was again more of a first impression, you could say. But with highlighter, I usually like initial application, I can usually tell how it sits on the skin, whether it's like too sparkly, whether it's gonna fall down. I don't need that much of a trial with bronzer, especially because I apply it really close to my hairline. I'm a little bit more critical of bronzers than I am of highlighters, and I just knew that this would be an instant hit. But yeah, I'm gonna have to try a lot of those Kruidvat products a little bit more, and this is definitely going to be like #1 on the to try pile to really test it out and put it through the ringer. But I know that's gonna be like a long-standing favorite in my makeup collection, I can just tell. Blush! We're finishing things off with blush. Maybe I should also let you know that I'm actually wearing a couple of the things I'm talking to you about in this drugstore week on my face. Case in point, some of the things I'm currently testing out as part of my Shop My Stash. By the time you're seeing this video, I will not have reviewed these, but these are on my review pile for this month. So the reviewing is coming up very shortly, and I'm wearing this shade, Raspberry. It's by MUA, and it's their Glossier dupe, you could say. I mean, you could see where they get the inspiration with these little paint vials. This is their blushed liquid cream blush, and I have Raspberry, Watermelon, and Dusky Rose. And I've tried this one already. It's so pretty. Because you know how sometimes mauve blushes can be a little bit warm toned? What if I told you this is a cool tone mauve blush? I love it. It's got a little bit of blue running through it. This is also quite cool toned, as you can see. It's more of a berry shade. It's quite intense, but I sometimes like it if I wear something that's a little bit plum leaning with greens. And I'm wearing this green sweater today, and I've got a green eye look going on, so I figured it would work everything together quite nicely. The only one I haven't tried yet on my cheeks is Watermelon, but these last long. A little goes a long way. That's why they are such a good Glossier dupe, because also with the Glossier Cloud Paints, all you need is like just a little bit, like literally, you don't even have to squeeze it out. All you need to do is like tap whatever product is left on the tube, like on the back of your hand, and you've got a cheek look. And especially with this as well, it just works really well. And of course I'm wearing a little bit of highlighter, but these are a little bit dewy as well, like they're not flat. And they were like, what, £3 at the UK drugstore? They're great. Granted, MUA can be a little bit difficult to find. So I'm not sure whether you could buy these online, because I tried seeing if they had them anywhere online, and I know Sephora UK stocks the brand, but they don't send these over to the European Union, so they don't send it everywhere. But yeah, that's what I've got going on my cheeks today, and I think it's lovely. So review coming very soon. Long-standing favorite, I think I've mentioned this several times as one of my favorite blushes, the Cheek Lover Oil Infused Blush from Catrice. I think this particular shade you can no longer get. This is the Blooming Hibiscus one, and I think this is my favorite. It is that sort of NARS Orgasm kind of vibe, but this is a little bit more pink leaning, more so than orange. So it's still that coral, but it has a bit more of a cooler undertone. So NARS Orgasm, I feel, was always a little bit too orange for me, but this pulls a little bit more pink toned, and also the flash of this, like in the pan, because it has a gold ring, it looks like it's got a golden flash to it if I hold it against the light. It doesn't. On my cheeks anyway, it looks like it's a little bit more cool toned, and it has more of that icy pink quality. This is stunning. This is a product I almost didn't pick up, but then I was like sort of like stressed for like trying some new Catrice products because there was a limited edition out, and I needed something to round out that look. And I kind of haphazardly picked this up, not thinking anything of it, and it became an instant favorite. Like, this feels like a high-end blush, but it's not. Loving this one. Oh, and it's a lot of product as well. How much product do you get? It's 9 grams. 9 grams of blush. That's a lot of blush. More Catrice then, and this was in my Shop My Stash last month, and this is one of their newer shades in the Air Blush Glow range, but this range I think came out about a year ago. I already tried the shade Cloud Wine then, and I liked the formula, but it was very similar to a lot of my other mauve tone blushes. So I was very happy to see that they're doing a cool tone version, because Cloud Wine was like warm tone, more plum leaning, and this Berry Haze shade is more of like that cool pink, but it leans mauve because it has that purpliness to it. This was so pretty. I really enjoyed this shade, and I'm now really happy that I decluttered the other one. Not because I didn't like the formula, because Catrice can do really good blushes. Really lovely ones. I like Catrice blushes a little bit better than I do Essence ones usually. I find Essence highlighters usually work a little bit better for me, and then Catrice works better in the blush department. But yeah, this is lovely, and I'm really enjoying this one. But I cannot deny my love for the Kiko Fusion blushes. This is the Shade Fusion blush, which is discontinued, and now they do the unlimited blushes. It comes in the same sort of packaging. I think this one is a little bit more silver. This looks a little bit more gunmetal. I'm not sure if you can see the difference there. This is the old one. This is in shade 5, and you can see it has 3 shades. So this is going to be impossible to find, but it's one of my favorite, all-time favorite mauve tone blushes. It's up there with my Pat McGrath blush, just saying. But then I saw that in their newer, unlimited range, they do a shade called Mauve. Guess what? I don't think they are 100% exact. I still need to compare them. But I think if you want the look of that blush that was gone, you could try this, because this I just bought. And I put it on my face, and it is definitely a mauve. On my cheeks, it looked a little bit more warm toned, but I'm gonna have to put it together with some other looks to really see how it pools. But I love it when a mauve has a little bit of the cool tone with the warm tone mixed in, because I have that neutral undertone. I like it when a blush sort of can go both ways. And I'm suspecting that this one can go both ways. So if you pair it with cooler tone things, it warms up your cheeks a little bit, make them look a little bit alive. But I think that if you pair this with warmer tones, that it could actually look a little bit more cool toned. And I definitely need to swatch this against my Pat McGrath Divine Rose blush, because I love the texture of these little Catrice Kiko blushes. Formula-wise, I feel it's very similar to the Shade Fusion one, but I really wanted to try one of these newer shades, because for the longest time, I was trying to see if I could find a shade like the old one in the newer range. I couldn't find it, and I found this online, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen this shade in store, which is weird, because Kiko seems to do some things in stores and some things online, it seems. Started to figure that out, but yeah. Those were all of the cheek products I wanted to share with you today. So yeah, let me know in a comment down below what your favorite drugstore blush, bronzer, or highlight is. Maybe it's something I've never tried, but I have tried a lot over the years. So I can like link you to some like overviews of like all of the bronzer reviews I've ever done. There's a lot there. There's a decade worth of like reviews and stuff. So I've been around and I've tried a lot. So even though maybe your favorite product isn't featured here, maybe if I declutter that product over time, of course, doesn't mean that you can't like it. We all like our different things. We all have our personal preferences, and that's fine. These are just mine. So I just thought it would be fun to share that with you. So please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, so if you'd like to stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!